I've been asked now a few times of what kind of quivers do I use and how many arrows I bring along with me when I hunt. So I figure we'll do a little video and I'll explain a little bit of that. And of course, there's not a right answer to any, how many arrows I should bring or, what kind of quiver is best or anything like that. It's all personal preference. We'll start off with my plain style quivers, and I make these and sell them on my website, and they come in different models and different colors, but they're all made out of buffalo hide or some other heavy type hides, and they have adjustable straps. This one's got a pocket on it, some fringe and some beads and stuff. And then I hang this over my neck and shoulder and wear it across my body. And I like for them to hang on the opposite side of my bow hand. So if I'm holding the bow in this hand, I like it to be on this side. Some people like it on the same side. I just prefer it to be on this side. But that's just, again, it's personal preference. In these quivers, I typically carry 4 or 5 hunting arrows. I can squeeze 6 or 7 in there without any problem, but typically, and this goes for all my quivers, I prefer to carry 4, maybe 5 arrows. I just don't feel like I need to carry any more than that. Now, of course, if I was going on an extended all-day trip, like when I lived in Montana and would hike 3 miles in, looking for something, that I might bring a few extra arrows just because you don't know what you're going to run into. Especially if you're there all day, I could get into shooting grouse or something, early afternoon and, be down an arrow or two that, needs sharpened or, broke or some issue like that. I don't want to short myself that way, but, typically my standard going into the woods and doing a few hour hunt, I've got like 4 arrows on me. And the reason mostly for that is I don't want a whole bunch of arrows. The more arrows you have, the more they kind of bang around, or the more like I have in these quivers that they might kind of bust up against each other and dull a little bit. I don't have to force them in, that kind of thing. And I've always figured if I can't kill a deer with 3 shots, then I ought not be shooting at it. And then the 4th one is just an extra. That way you're not walking out with one. And things happen. You missed, people miss deer or whatever. When I was kind of early hunting, I would miss a deer. I wrote a story in one of my book where I shot at one, and he jumped a few steps. There was a little spike, and he stopped again. I shot, expected him to jump the string, and he did, and I shot right underneath him. And then he ran a big circle, came all the way around, and basically walked right down the same trail again. And this time I didn't aim low, expected him to jump string. I just aimed right on, and I killed him with the 3rd arrow. So it was nice to have the extra arrows. It'd be kind of silly to go into the woods with 1 arrow or even 2. I mean, there's instances, I killed a deer last month actually, where it came in a little bit too close. I was up in a tree, and it was a little too close for my liking, and I probably shouldn't have shot. Kind of hindsight's 20/20 on that. And ended up spine shooting that deer, and it fell immediately. And I grabbed another arrow, and just in haste, trying to finish the job off, quickly and humanely as possible, I shot the 2nd arrow, and the deer was actually laying and kicking, and as it kicked, I actually hit its leg. I mean, it was going good, but it hit its leg, and it just kind of shows that things can kind of happen, So, as it hit its leg and it kicked that arrow off, I had to grab another one, and then I gave it a final kill shot. And that's why, I say 3 arrows, 3 or 4 arrows. That's not a normal thing. Typically it's a 1 shot and we're done type of situation. But there's been times too that I'll have a raccoon or something will come by and I'll shoot at it, and or a squirrel or something. I just can't help myself, and so you get down an arrow or 2. But typically I don't think I've ever needed any more than 3 or 4 arrows, and I don't think I've ever shot that many. I don't think I've ever shot any more than 3, and again, 3 is that instance of I shoot one and I need a follow-up shot, and then my 2nd follow-up shot is either me panicking and missing or hitting it bad or something in that heat of the moment and needing a 3rd one to do it, but that, again, is pretty rare. But anyway, so this is the one kind of quiver that I make, and people will ask, is it okay to use stone points in these? Will they get dull? And of course you can use stone points in these, but you just have to, like with any kind of quiver, you got to put them in very carefully and take them out very carefully. You don't want to just jam them down in, especially with these leather quivers like this, and you can even use them with steel points. But people will say, oh, I had a leather quiver before, and I had, a dozen arrows in it, and I was pushing the last one in, and it cut the side with my broadhead. And it's like, well, you're overstuffing it. You know, any time that you're forcing an arrow in a quiver, there's a reason that it's not going in, and there's chances are you're going to hurt either the point or the quiver itself. But you can use these with metal points or steel points, but the idea is you don't want to force anything in, so you don't want to put too many arrows in them either. And if you want one that's going to hold a dozen arrows, if you decide that you want to bring a dozen for whatever reason, you know, I can make these a little bit bigger to hold more arrows too. That's not a problem. With field point arrows, you could probably get pretty close a dozen in here, but it'll squish the fletchings down on you a little bit. But either way, we're just careful when we put our stone points in. We put them in very gently, and we take them out very gently. And also, one thing that I recommend doing, especially if you're going to use metal points, because if they do align perfectly, they could slide between and actually cut the stitches on the back side. I really haven't had a problem with the stone points doing that. Maybe they're just a little too big. I don't know. A friend of mine, actually, it happened with his with the stone point. So I tell folks, take just a little piece of scrap rag or something and stuff down in the bottom, and that'll stop the points from pushing through and cutting these fletchings. But this is a real good one to carry. It's easy on, easy off. Hang it up on a limb, that kind of thing. Lay it down on the ground. It's pretty safe. You just got to be careful you don't step on it or anything, because it doesn't offer a whole lot of protection on your arrows. And that's one type that I really enjoy using. Now the other type of primitive one that I use is, right now I'm using this basket quiver, but this is a very primitive quiver. This is for my Stone Age set, meaning that everything that I've done on this quiver is Stone Age technology and Stone Age tools. I cut all the ribbing with stone tools, all the vines I cut down with stone flakes, and wound it all, obviously by hand. And my arrows, of course, are all Stone Age tools, and the bow I am too. But I'm thinking about offering these basket-style quivers in the future, but I'm not quite sure yet how to do it. I can't get enough vine to fill orders at this point. I mean, it takes a ton of vines to do this. I would have to use modern, like rattan and that kind of thing to wrap these things up. So I'm not exactly sure, but these may possibly be for sale on my website sooner than later. But this is, again, it's the same thing. You wear it just like the plain style quiver. This is what I'd basically call like a southeastern quiver. And again, this is just a rawhide. I cut this piece of rawhide strip with a stone flake. I twisted it up, just made simple. I didn't even make cord out of it. I just twisted it and wrapped it on, and I wear it. And again, I got moss stuffed in the bottom, and it kind of keeps things from rattling around too much. But one like this, it's easy to get them to rattle a little too much. So anything that's stiff like that has the potential to kind of rattle around and make a little noise, and you got to be careful it doesn't dull the points up. But that's kind of what the moss is for. It's to hold the points where they're supposed to be, and it's just this end that rattles a little if it does. And then my more traditional style quiver that I use, and I've killed a lot of deer wearing this one. It's not necessarily primitive. It's got a little bit of a blend in between the two, but if I'm hunting with one of my more modern self bows with a Dacron string and something that I made with modern tools and everything, then I'll go ahead and I use this quiver just because it's just so comfortable, and it's just a leather pouch quiver. And this one came, I forget what it's actually called, but my wife bought it for me years ago, and it came with a regular, like a modern style quiver like this that holds your arrows on it, but it eventually broke, so I made my own with a piece of cane. And this isn't something that I make and sell. I make bags to sell, but I'm not sure if I can get enough of this bamboo to make these, but I'm thinking about doing it. But my problem is it's not a real true primitive quiver here, because I ended up using a piece of like the rubber that they use on those old-fashioned quickie quivers, and I screwed that onto here and make a little kind of traditional primitive blend, and it's just kind of for my modern self bows a little bit. And the reason I really like this is because it holds everything secure and nothing rattles around. And I mean, if I'm hunting with a really truly primitive looking bow, I kind of feel funny carrying this one, but again, if I'm hunting with one of my more modern ones or whatever, then I don't mind carrying it. It all just depends on how I'm feeling and how primitive I really want to be. But you know, these are hard to beat as far as, you know, getting arrows in and out and keeping your stone point sharp. And I got just a little piece of rag stuffed down in this piece of bamboo or giant river cane, and you can kind of see what that is a little bit there. It's actually between the nodes. I just kind of fashioned something up, and I kind of like it. But so there's the quivers that I personally use, and you know, the plains ones you can get on my website, and you know, quite possibly the basket quivers will be available at some point as well, and maybe I'll even come up with my bag quivers like this that I can kind of offer in the future if people seem to like them. But you know, 3 to 5 arrows, you know, 4 or 5 arrows, that's what I kind of like to carry. If you want to carry more, you can, but you know, that's just what I personally carry, so I just figured I'd share that information with you.